Hey guys, I'm Jacob Chase.
And I'm Annie Neatly.
We're going to talk to you today about integration. So it's important to remember that addition is to subtraction as integration is to derivatives, in the sense that they are both inverses of each other. On the left here you can see the integral of f of x with respect to x. And when solving it, you have to remember, do not forget to include a plus c at the end. That's free points. And in the words of Brian Church, add 1, divide by, 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 add 1, divide by it. So for example 1, we're trying to find the integral of x to the third minus 5x squared plus 3x minus 1. So for the second line, you can see that we simply expanded the problem and separated it by its individual parts. In the final box, we actually perform the integration by adding 1 to the exponent and dividing the entire part by that number that it was raised to. So whereas x to the third is now x to the fourth divided by 4. For example 2, we're simply examining an e to the x problem. If you can recall, the derivative of e to the x is simply e to the x, and it remains the same. Therefore, the integral, because it is an inverse function, will be e to the x plus c. In example 2.5, right below it, it's e to the 2x. It's very similar, however, you do have to keep the 2x the way it is, but you're just going to divide it by 2 and add c to the end, just as if it were a simple e to the x problem.
Alright, with example 3, we decided to make it a little bit harder as this might be a problem that could appear on the exam. When you have the square root of x, you want to get rid of that square root first, and you have to remember that every square root is essentially raised to the second power, and when you are getting rid of it, you're going to need to divide by that. So your x becomes x raised to the 1/2. And when you're taking the antiderivative, you're going to, as we said before, add 1 and divide by that, thus making it x 3 to the second, or x to the 1.5. And you're also going to divide that by the same exponent number. So you're going to divide it by 3 halves, and you're going to add the plus c. However, you aren't done yet. You have to take the inverse of that, which is 2 divided by 3, and you're going to keep x to the 3 halves the same, we decided and to carry down the the plus exponential c. rule. On the left, you can see the formula that you will be using to guide your final answer. It deals with the natural log of b. For the example that we chose, it begins with 2e to the x. Because you cannot take the integral of 2e to the x, it will be the same in the original equation as it is in the final. 2e to the x is being added to by 1 to the 4th. 1 to the 4th, you simply add an x to the end of and include it in the final equation as so. 1 to the 4th is being subtracted by 2 to the 1, and 2 is being multiplied by 1.2 to the x. Negative 2 being multiplied by 1.2 to the x stays the same, and it is then divided by the natural log of 1.2. And you cannot forget the c at the end of that equation. This is how you do the exponential rule equations. For our final example, we chose an application of integration. The word problem says, by the start of 2008, Apple had a total of about 3.5 million iPhones. From the start of 2008 through the end of 2014, sales of iPhones were approximately S of t equals 1.5 t to the second plus 20t plus 0.25 iPhones per year, with a lower limit of 0 and an upper limit of 6, where t is the time in years since 2008. So for this problem, you're going to need to A, find an expression for the total sales of iPhones up to time t, and use the answer that we found in part A to estimate the total sales of iPhones by the end of 2014. To begin working on the problem, you will first need to take the antiderivative of the original equation. Thus, 1.5t squared will become 1.5t to the third divided by 3. And 20t will become 20 divided by 2t to the second, and plus 0.25 will become plus 0.25t. And you'll need to keep the c on the end as well. After simplification, it will become 0.5t to the third plus 10t to the second plus 0.25t. And you will need to find the actual value of c by substituting the lower limit of 0 into the equation. After doing this, we found that it was 3.5. So we added 3.5 to the equation. To come up with a final answer for the problem, you will substitute the upper limit into the equation, into your final simplified equation. Thus, s of 6 will be equal to 0.5, 6 to the third, plus 10 times 6 to the second, plus 0.25 times 6, and you will add your c, which is 3.5. After simplification of this problem, you will wind up with 473 million iPhones. That will be the total sales by the end of 2014.
Yeah, we just want to wish you guys good luck on this final.
And we included a picture of a pretty puppy to try and de-stress you.